Up next on Inside the SCCA, presented by RacingWire.com, My Favorite Things. Welcome to, I think, episode 213 of Inside the SCCA. I'm Brian Bielanski. Inside the SCCA, presented by RacingWire.com. This episode's a little different. This is going to be just me talking today. No guests, but I got some cool stuff, and we're going to give something away here this week as well. I had every intention of doing this episode in December, and then life got in the way, things got busy, and then I was going to do it right after the first of the year, and then we had to evacuate our home because of the fires. Thankfully, our home is fine, and we were able to get back into our house. And then the super tour got going, and everything got busy and everything. And I had to go back to the person, the company that agreed to give me something to give away to see if they still wanted to do it. They said, yes, thank you so much. We're going to get to that in a moment. But I wanted to go through and do some fun stuff today. These are going to be my favorite things, basically from 2024, even though we're already in February of 2025. I promise I will try to do better and get this out before the holidays, so you could use some of this stuff as a potential holiday gift if you wanted to. But not everything is things. Some of what I'm going to talk about tonight are stories, which I'm was happy to be able to tell, and stories that I was maybe not happy to be able to tell, but happy to be able to tell. It's kind of complicated. You'll all figure it out here pretty quickly. But some of it are things. And I will tell you whether or not the things I have as partners or not. So it's in full disclosure. But I will tell you that if it wasn't one of my favorite things, it wouldn't be on the show even if they were a partner. So yeah, let's get to it right away, folks. Let's get right to it. The first thing I want to tell you about, and this is one I'm excited about, one of my favorite things for 2025, and it doesn't really have anything to do, well, I guess it could be racing related, but it's certainly car dude and dudette related. And it is something I find I've always loved the idea of the tool roll. And as I'm surfing through the interwebs, one of these popped up, on my feed probably, I'm going to guess, Facebook, and I clicked on it, and it was like, God, it's so cool. I always wanted to have one of those, to have a tool set in each one of my cars for the eventuality that maybe my car broke down or somebody else's did. And I came across this company, toolroll.com, officialtoolroll.com, and I went out, and I will tell you, I bought 2 of them before I ever asked them to give us 2 of these to be able to give away on the show. And if you wait till the end, I will tell you how you can qualify to get one of these. I'm actually going to give away 2 of them. Actually, officialtoolroll.com is going to give away 2 of them. And I'm going to open this thing up and try to do this. I've never done something this big here. So I'm going to move my microphone in a weird way so I can get it kind of out of my face and still tell you. But here's what it looks like. It's tool roll. And there's really heavy-duty material. I want to say it kind of feels like almost maybe burlap sack, or if you were ever a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout, I'm guessing they use it too, and went on a camping trip. This is kind of like the material that those heavy-duty canvas tents were made out of. And if you open it up, it has all of these different pockets for all your different types of tools. And I have filled mine up with some tools. I had some old tools. Here's some wrenches I've got in this one, and another pocket. And if each pocket's got labels, and this thing is made, sockets I've got in here. This thing is made to last, folks. This is, it's not obviously cut proof, but it's just really cool. And then when you roll it all up, it's got the nice little clip here, and you can actually hear I got stuff in here. Oh, caught in my headphones. So the first 2 I bought myself, one for my car, one for my wife's car. And then I set it all up, and I really thought it was really well built. And I'm like, this is something that a lot of other people might like. So I went out and I contacted the people at the officialtoolroll.com, And I said, hey, I do this thing. I've got this podcast. I love your product. Can we give away a couple to my viewers? And they said, sure, we're going to give 2 away. And I will tell you how you can qualify, but you got to wait to the end of the show. So that's our giveaway for the show. Getting that right up there first. Really appreciate the folks there for helping us out. And very cool. So, all right, let's get on to the second thing I wanted to talk about for this show. And it's another tool-related thing. And this one, if you have, 2 things. This is an impact driver. I may have showed this last year or not. It's by Vessel. And what's interesting about this is if you're working on Japanese cars, it has the Japanese standard tip. So not only is it a great tool driver, like if on the Hondas, if you need to get that screw off the rear drum, you have to have an impact driver of sorts. This works as an impact driver as well as a regular screwdriver. And if you ever worked on Honda cars or any Japanese car, the Phillips screws are a little different than American Phillips screws, and it's because they have a Japanese standard Phillips tool head. So all of the Vessel drivers, you can double, not all of them, most of them have that standard. So not only is this great for opening up those screws on those that need an impact driver, but it's just the proper tool for going after all of the screws, the Phillips type screws on Japanese cars. So they've got several sizes. I believe this is the number 3. I also have the number 2, but an amazing tool. I love it. I would not buy any other Phillips screwdriver. And they unlike, so an American screwdriver doesn't work great on a Japanese screw. It will strip it out. If you have a Japanese car or a Japanese motorcycle and you've stripped out your screws on it, it's because you're using the wrong tip. But the Japanese standard screwdriver does work on an American Phillips. So just buy the Japanese standard screwdrivers. You won't have a problem. This is by Vessel. I do not have any partnership with Vessel. I bought this with my own money, but you might want to check this out. Very, very cool. So I love Vessel, and I love these, and all of my screwdrivers are Vessel too. I'm a bit of a tool head, if you haven't found that out yet. And I love finding the best tools that aren't tool truck tools. I'm going to do a whole episode on that at some point too. There are some fantastic tools out there today that nothing wrong with Snap-on and Mac and Matco. Fantastic tools, way, way, way too expensive. There are some fantastic alternatives that might not be at the same level as a tool truck, but will do most of us fine for an entire lifetime. This is one of those tools, Vessel. So, all right, that's my second favorite thing of 2025. Let's go into my third. And this is my favorite thing, but it does make me a tiny bit sad. We had an incident at the runoffs this year with one of our SCCA family members, Mike West. He had a medical incident, took a fall, ended up with a very severe traumatic brain injury. And his family's insurance, coupled with the SCCA insurance, did not cover the trip back to the air ambulance needed to get him back home to Tennessee. And we had to raise a bunch of money, and we set up a GoFundMe account. The family did, and a lot of us in the club worked hard to let people know it was out there. And we were trying to raise about $30,000. In the end, we raised almost $50,000 to help out Mike and his family. And it makes me so proud to know that our SCCA family comes through when members of our community are in need. And, we miss Mike. We did get him home. And, with those traumatic brain injuries, unfortunately, the complications are often the case that the outcomes aren't positive. We did lose Mike late last year, but it makes me feel good to know that Mike was at home, surrounded by family and friends when that happened, and we were able to help out and make that happen. So that is my third favorite melancholy, bittersweet moment of the year for us here. Next up is another great story having to do with SCCA family. And this is on a happier note. I was able to highlight, we were able to talk about this year, a bunch of young SCCA racers who have had great success, starting with the stepping stone of the SCCA and moving forward from there. And I want to point out a couple of them here. There are more than just this, including one that I'm going to mention later should also be on this list, but he's on another part of the list. But Morgan Burkhart, SCCA out of Washington, D.C. region, he is now has a full-time extended contract in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Jason Pribble, guest number 1 on Inside the SCCA. He is now racing in Europe in several categories there. He went to race Formula Fords in his first season. This year, he's stepping up to a better and bigger category with the idea that at some point he wants to race professionally or race in a higher level. I believe what he's doing now is professional. I don't know if it's still considered amateur or not. But anyway, he's had some great success racing in Europe. Also, Connor Zilic. Of course, he won the 24 Hours of Daytona last year, and he ended up with a NASCAR contract, started with us, or probably didn't start with us, but raced with us along the way. You spec me out as one of his stepping stones to get there. So great success for him. He is, all three of them are future stars. So that is my next up of Brian's favorite things for 2024, the early 2025 edition. All right, let's move on here to my next story that we want to talk about. And this is another one. And this is another story that we did here on Inside the SCCA. Shelby Robbins. She is a youngster out of, I want to say, the Tennessee area. And she found the SCCA last year and became an amazing member of our volunteer worker community. She's going to be an engineer, going to school for that. Was welcomed into the SCCA. Traveled all around the Southeast. Made a trip to the runoffs and to the sprints. I believe one of those she drove all night by herself. I believe she's 19 years old, maybe 20. Drove all night by herself to get to Road America for the sprints, and just a great story of young talent in our volunteer corps who is going to be a future leader here. Actually, probably a current leader, actually, here in the SCCA. Never have enough volunteers. You can check out her episode here on Inside the SCCA if you do a little Google search or YouTube search for Shelby Robbins and Inside the SCCA. Fantastic young person here, and I just love telling Shelby's story, and I appreciate her being on the show with us. All right, next up on my list of favorite things is raceschool.com. Of course, it's Inside the SCCA, presented by raceschool.com. So I do have a partnership with them. They are one of our sponsors on the show. Full disclosure, don't want anybody thinking otherwise, but these folks here really do a great job. And let me throw up a little bit of video here. You can see their stuff here. They are based out here in California. They have racing schools at Buttonwillow, as well as I think they still do a little bit of stuff at Willow Springs, but now with 2 tracks at Buttonwillow, they've got lots of opportunities and lots of different options there. Great folks. A lot of the folks involved with raceschool.com, and I think the school itself was the place where the Toyota Celebrity Racers went for their race schools before doing the Toyota Celebrity Challenge, the Long Beach Grand Prix, especially the last few years. But great school. They do SCCA licensing schools, performance driving schools, defensive driving schools, lots of different options. They have great weather out here, which is why a lot of people from across the country come out here to do their schools. They also have a very interesting way to do their teaching. So I would definitely recommend that you go and, first of all, watch our podcast that we did with raceschool.com and learn a lot from that show as well. And then when you are ready to go and do your school, you should come out here and you should do your school out here, or at least check them out. Definitely check them out, raceschool.com. Great people there. Happy to be partners with them. And again, even if they were a partner, if I wasn't confident to send you there, I certainly wouldn't have them on the list here of my favorite things of 2024. All right, let's move on. 2 more to go here, and these are 2 of my favorite stories of the year. Both of them, there's podcasts that we did, so you definitely want to check out check them out. The first one is the story of young Ethan Goulart, the youngest ever SCCA national champion. I believe he was 15 when he actually won the national championship in October in Spec Miata. His dad right there. I don't think Dad made the podium. I'd have to go back and look. He was either third or fourth, but I think he was fourth place. But the two of them in victory lane is something I'll never forget. Great job by Ethan. Wonderful young kid, and got his head pointed in the right direction, and a ton of talent. You have to have a ton of talent to win a Spec Miata national champion, no matter what age you are. And very wise beyond his years, smart, makes good decisions, a huge future in this sport, and very, very excited to have Ethan on my list of my favorite stories, favorite things of 2024. All right. And check out the podcast we did with him on the show back in, I want to say, November. He was also the Inside the SCCA G-Dub Henderson Driver of Excellence Award winner from the runoffs as well. And last, but certainly not least, Danny and Jim on the mend. That's my final and favorite thing from 2025. Another story that came out of the runoffs, a very, very serious wreck during qualifying for Spec Miata. And Danny Stain, Jim Drago, ended up in the hospital with really, really serious injuries. And for a long time, because, the information sometimes comes out in a trickle after these types of things. Even to me, with my access to the power people in SCCA, they don't share with me information until the families are ready for that to be shared. It's absolutely the right thing to do. But for a while, we were really worried and unsure of what the outcome was. Both, I think, Danny was airlifted first, and then Jim's second, down to a level 1 trauma center in Milwaukee. And then word started trickling out that they had lots of injuries, but they were doing as okay as they could. And then eventually we got the picture of the two of them in the hospital in wheelchairs, which of course harkened back to memories of those of us who watched Days of Thunder and all of that, of the two drivers at the hospital doing their drag races down the hall. We had a great episode of the podcast with Danny Stain, talking about his wreck, what he had learned from it, what his takeaways were, what things he might change in the car going forward. Danny has plans to go back racing again, and we look forward to getting him back in a car, and I look forward to seeing him at the racetrack somewhere down here as well. Jim, I've extended the offer to have him on the show. I hope when he's ready, he'll take me up on it. I'd love to get caught up with his experience, and whether or not, I haven't heard whether or not he plans to get back in the car. We all hope he does. But of course, those are very personal decisions, and whatever decision he makes, we are fully in support of that. But the fact that the two of them both survived the track, they're both on the mend. I saw a Facebook post from Jim that he had started driving again. That's huge to get your independence back after something like this, just to be able to go back and forth to work. So lots of good coming out of that. And of course, learning from that accident, looking at the cars, what could be done better, what could be done differently. Those are all opportunities that we take. So my final and most important favorite thing of 2024 is seeing Danny and Jim back with us here, and as they come and mend and heal up, and then hopefully we will soon to see them at the racetrack. Hopefully in 2025, maybe one of my favorite things will be seeing one or both of them back in a race car. If not in 2025, maybe 2026. So real quick before we go, I want to thank our sponsors of the show. We couldn't do it without them. And let me get the lower third out of the way here for a second. Of course, you see them above. Of course, RaceWorld.com. We talked about them. The presenting sponsor of Inside the SCCA. Thank you for all they do. Their information is in our show notes. Also want to take a moment to thank the rest of our partners. That would be Solo Performance Specialties, Dave and his crew there providing parts and tires and stuff for the Solo community. They have a trailer at many of the National Tour events. You can also catch them out at Solo Performance Specialties on the internet. Their link is in the show notes. Ray Esports, the official sim racing league of Inside the SCCA. Good folks there. Check out his leagues on Tuesday nights and on the weekends. Big thank you to them. David Pinterick, he is a GT1 and a Spec MX5 driver. He has a company that does financial planning services, William R. Pinterick and Associates. He's a big supporter of Inside the SCCA. If you need any help with that, please jump on and get a hold of Dave. He is a great guy, and I definitely think he would be helpful to you. All right, folks, that is going to do it for this episode of Inside the SCCA. A regular episode back next week should be, if all goes well, our Super Tour preview. I believe we're going to have Michael Lewis on the show, and he is going to he raced the full race at the circuit at Buttonwillow, and he is going to help us out with a preview of the Super Tour at the circuit at Buttonwillow. If you like what you're hearing, subscribe to the Inside the SCCA podcast on the RacingWire Podcast Network and the Racing Network on YouTube. Leave us a comment, especially if it's a good one. You can follow us on... Oh, wait, I didn't tell you how to win. Tell us what your favorite thing of 2025 is. Anything having to do with the SCCA. Put that in the show notes. And I will pick 2 people from the show notes, and you will get a tour roll from the official tourroll.com folks. So forgot about all of that. All you have to do is go in the show notes, tell me what your favorite thing of 2025 was, having to do with the SCCA or a tool thing. That would be cool too. And I will pick 2 people out of the show notes, and we will get 2 of these, one tour roll sent to each of you. 2 tour rolls total. Check that out. Go in the show notes and do that. And, of course, like and subscribe if you haven't. That would be awesome, too. So, all right, back to what I was saying. If you want to find out who our next guest is, follow us on social medias. On Twitter, it is @RaceAnnouncer. We have a new Inside the SCCA every week. I'm Brian Bielanski. Have yourself a great weekend. Go have fun with cars. And stay safe, everybody.
I'm Abby Shear, and when I'm on my way to an autocross, I listen to the Inside the SCCA podcast.